Jamie Metzl, Hacking Darwin, Genetic Engineering and the Future of Humanity. Dive into the captivating world of Hacking Darwin and explore the fascinating realms of genetic engineering and its potential impact on the future of humanity. This summary highlights the historical foundations of Darwinian evolutionary theory and Mendelian genetics that form the basis of our understanding of human genetics today. Discover how the development of gene editing technologies like CRISPR is revolutionizing reproductive medicine and shaping the future of human evolution. Grasp the complexities and ethical concerns surrounding these technological advances, and the role they might play in the global race for genetic supremacy and the implications for society.
The History of Evolution. The book explores the history of evolution, starting from the mutual ancestor of humans and fruit flies that roamed the planet 700 million years ago, to the publication of Charles Darwin's Origin of the Species in 1859, and how we are entering a new era beyond natural selection. Darwin's research from his voyage around the world posited that all life on Earth is related, and small, inherited variations in traits enabled populations to compete to survive and reproduce in a process called natural selection. In other words, populations evolved since species with more advantageous traits survived and reproduced more than those with less advantageous traits. Further studies from Gregor Mendel, who studied the traits passed down to the offspring of over 10,000 pea plants, posited that individual traits are passed on independently of other traits. In cases where the two genes in a pair are different, one gene will always be dominant, and an offspring's genes are inherited as distinct units rather than being a perfect blend of its parents' genetic makeup. Overall, Darwinian evolutionary theory in Mendelian genetics turned the tide in biology. It is fascinating how we have come a long way from a mutual ancestor of humans and fruit flies that roamed the planet 700 million years ago to now entering a new era beyond natural selection. Decoding the Human Genome. The Human Genome Project was a $2.7 billion international effort to sequence the first human genome, which was completed in 2003. Since then, the cost of sequencing a human genome has fallen to around $700, and it's predicted that 2 billion human genomes will be sequenced over the next 10 years. However, the challenge now is to make sense of all that data. Artificial intelligence, AI, and big data analytics have revolutionized the field of genomics, enabling scientists to apply these tools to identify specific genes and further our understanding of the human genome. Advancements in reproductive technologies. Reproductive technologies have made great strides in the prevention and elimination of genetic disorders, such as Tay-Sachs, from certain populations. With the inception of embryo selection and preimplantation genetic testing, PGT, it is now possible to ensure that offspring are healthy and free from single-gene mutation disorders before they are implanted into mothers' bodies. As technology progresses, we may soon be able to scan for more diseases, including cancer and even traits like height, intelligence, and personality. However, this also raises ethical concerns about selecting for preferred traits and the potential for this technology to become the norm. The rise of assisted reproductive technology. The book challenges the dogmatic view that natural conception is superior to conception through assisted reproduction technology, ART. Currently, in vitro fertilization, IVF, is used by older women, mothers with high risk of hereditary diseases and same-sex couples. Nevertheless, the author predicts that IVF and preimplantation genetic testing, PGT, will eventually be adopted by the mainstream, rendering sex as humanity's primary method of reproduction obsolete by 2045. This conclusion is based on the idea that as the technology improves, prospective parents will increasingly opt to give their children the best chance for a healthy life. The author also states that as governments and insurance companies promote the use of ART to eliminate the expenses of preventable genetic diseases, healthcare providers will be incentivized to cover the procedures. However, despite its benefits, there are downsides to IVF, such as the difficult and painful process of egg extraction, birth abnormalities, and high costs. To mitigate these risks, younger women have begun opting for egg freezing, a service that is covered by some companies such as Facebook and Apple. The future of gene editing. Gene editing has come a long way since its inception in the 1980s, and recent advancements in CRISPR technology have made it more precise and affordable. From altering genes to prevent blood disorders to giving humans enhanced senses, the possibilities for genetic manipulation are infinite. Gene therapy and synthetic biology are also fields that are making significant breakthroughs. However, the critical question remains how society will handle these developments. Genetic engineering and the clash of ideologies. The use of genetically modified crops and advancements in genetic engineering have sparked debates regarding their regulation and ethical concerns. While studies show that GM crops are safe, fearmongering and ideological differences have resulted in bans in some countries. The Catholic Church has denounced embryo selecting and gene editing research, while the Jewish community sees genetic engineering as an act of kindness. Legislative approaches to assisted reproduction vary globally, with advanced reproduction technologies scarcely regulated in the US and differing regulations in Europe allowing for travel to less restrictive countries. Ultimately, human competition will lead to a genetic arms race, fueling the genetic revolution. The genetic arms race. The race for genetic superiority is driving countries towards genetic engineering. The United States and China are at the forefront of this race. In the US, parents can determine the athletic potential of their children through genomic tests, while Uzbekistan has included genetic testing in their sports program since 2014. Genetic sequencing will also be included in China's selection process for their 2022 Winter Olympics team. However, the rise of genetic engineering presents serious ethical dilemmas for sports competitions, as it will be difficult to detect whether someone has been genetically edited or not. Furthermore, genetic engineering could lead to genetic warfare if certain countries take it too far, creating a serious threat to humanity. While embracing this technology is inevitable, considering its ethical implications is necessary to prevent devastating consequences. Genetic engineering and diversity. Genetic engineering presents ethical questions about diversity and inequality in society. While celebrating diversity can prevent a homogeneous monoculture, genetic enhancements can cause class hierarchies. We must address current inequalities to prevent genetic inequality, but giving up on potential cures for diseases is not an option. The need for global regulation. Genetic engineering can pose significant risks, from ecological damage to bioterrorism threats, highlighting the need for proper regulation. Establishing an international regulatory body for governing genetic engineering can be complex. Still, it requires urgent attention to ensure essential ethical and ecological issues are correctly addressed. However, public awareness and education can help build an informed and supportive audience for genetic engineering. Countries can set up a bioethics commission as part of their regulatory framework to ensure public involvement. An example of effective regulation is the UK's Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority. While the establishment of an international regulatory framework is complex, setting up a global dialogue commission could be the first step towards ensuring the safe use of genetic engineering. Ultimately, educating ourselves and our communities about the potential risks and benefits of genetic engineering is crucial in shaping our genetic future.
As we traverse through the enlightening journey of hacking Darwin, we come to acknowledge the magnanimous potential of genetic engineering in redefining human health and evolution. We learn that the genetic revolution has the power to eradicate serious diseases, improve our physical and mental capabilities, and eventually transform our species. However, we must remain vigilant in addressing the ethical and social challenges that arise from these revolutionary technologies, and create necessary international regulations and public discourse to ensure responsible advancements. The future of humanity's genetic landscape will depend on our fulfillment of this collective responsibility.